So when it comes to prepping, we're always talking about food and water and batteries and flashlights and clothes and blankets and first aid supplies. But one of the things that we oftentimes overlook is how we're going to power up most of our stuff. So whether you're prepping for like the zombie apocalypse or solar flare, EMP, alien invasion, or some sort of like less likely event, that's one thing, and don't let me stop you. But the thing that's probably most likely is some sort of power outage. So whether that comes from a hurricane or a blizzard or a tornado or windstorm or heat wave or deep freeze or whatever it is. I know up here in Long Island, New York, we get pretty often we get a heat wave and everybody's using their air conditioner, power goes out. When we have a hurricane or a blizzard or even some like nor'easter, heavy windstorm, some trees go down, some wires go down, the power goes out. Could be for a few hours or a few days or sometimes even longer. And again, it kind of comes back to like, well, how are we going to kind of keep things going? Because when we prep, it's not just so like, after the apocalypse and all that stuff. It's like when the inconveniences come up, we want to be ready for those things. So it seems almost like seamless. Like if the kids came home from school and all the power was out or there was some kind of storm, they wouldn't even notice that it happened because we are prepared for it. So today we're going over 5 fuel sources that you should add to your preps to make things as seamless and as smooth as possible. Stay with me. What's up, warriors? This is Kiyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training, here to share with you some warrior skills and drills that anyone can learn and everyone should know. If you're new to the channel, welcome and thanks for stopping by. If you already follow us on social media and that's how you find your way over to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button and the little thing where it says all notifications, so YouTube will let you know when the next video drops, and you get all sorts of cool content from here as well. All right, so fuel source number 1 is a no-brainer. Gasoline and or diesel. So like for having extra gas for your car when Superstorm Sandy hit us and gas stations were closed and people were trying to run their generators, and there was like, it felt like Mad Max, man. You've seen people leaving the gas station with buckets with no lids filled with gasoline. Like, talk about dangerous. So a good idea is when you see like these 5-gallon jugs go on sale, you grab some. Like I have a bunch that are empty, but I have some that are full. I try to store them as safely as I can. I try to use additives and stuff to make it last as long as it can, but I cycle it through my vehicle. So like, I don't know, every 3 or 4 months I take the gas that I have one in my garage, a few in my shed. I have an attached garage, so I try to keep it so that I don't like to have fuel really stored in my, anything that's attached to my house. So I have one in there that has very little bit of gas, and the ones that are full and good to go are separate from the house. My house runs on home heating oil, which you could use diesel, and in a pinch, on more than one occasion, I use diesel, like in containers, to kind of just get us through the night or the next couple days if we couldn't get gas or there's too much snow or whatever it was, and the trucks couldn't get to my house. And I live in suburbia where it should be totally easy to get to my house. But the other reasons for having gasoline is really for like your generator, right? If it was from a blizzard, I need it for my snowblower, right? If it's a hurricane that downed some trees, I need it for my chainsaw. Now, if you have like yard tools that you would need to like kind of clean up the mess after the storm, but they run on electric and not gas, well, then maybe you would need a generator. But if you have a generator, that's going to run on gas. Know what I mean? And again, you could always use it to fill up your car. Don't forget that keeping gas in your car and keeping it at least halfway full, that's a good source of gasoline. That's fresh gas. You put it in not that long ago, that if you needed to, siphon it out and put it into your generator or into your chainsaw or into your snowblower or whatever tools you might need to use. That gas and diesel, especially with a diesel truck, home heating oil, that's a good match for each other. But gas and diesel is fuel number 1. I know a lot of people around the world, especially here in the United States, use propane as like their fuel source for their home. So they have a huge tank in the yard, and that's the thing that provides heat for their house and how they heat the water in their house and how they cook with and all that stuff. So I have a gas grill in my backyard and, for barbecuing, and I always have at least one tank, not just in the barbecue, one on deck and then a third one. I heard the saying pretty recently was 2 is 1, 1 is none, which we say all the time, and 3 is for me. So like the other available option for propane, which in my house, we don't have natural gas. So like I have an electric stove and an electric oven, an electric clothes dryer, all that stuff. So when we had the power go out, crack open a window in the kitchen. I take my Coleman camping stove, which I've used for camping for years. I take one of these 1 pound cans, it plugs into the side, and we could have coffee in the morning and cook our eggs and make mac and cheese for the kids. And these, man, every time they're on sale, I just grab a few of them. Again, I always have several of these ready to go. One for when my grill goes down, I have a spare, and then a spare behind the spare. Just that's how I roll. We have a lot of electric lanterns in the house, but these are my camping lanterns, which I have several of. And again, it's got a dimmer switch, so you take one of these 1 pound cans of propane, hook it up to the lantern, and you could use it indoors. You could set it for really high, but then it goes through your resource. Whereas if you set it kind of low, it's plenty bright enough to light up the room, and you could see, you could turn it on, you could turn it off. It's really easy, very set and forget it type of stuff. These are a little expensive right now, but you could still get them. So like I was at the sporting goods store the other day and I saw they had them, and it was currently $5 for one of these, which I thought was kind of high, but I've been to other stores where they typically have them and they didn't have them. So when I saw a couple, even though it sounded kind of expensive, I grabbed a few to add to my preps, because I feel like if there came a day when I couldn't find any more, I'd be glad that I spent the $5 per can when I had the opportunity. Propane, fuel source number 2. All right, this one's one of my favorites, kerosene. So you don't see too many of these anymore, or I don't think they're as common as they used to be, but you can still find them, and you still can find the fuel. And I don't know personally, if you know, let me know, how many other things still run on kerosene. All I know is that I have several of these, and I've had them for years, and they are just awesome, awesome, awesome heaters. So like I've had the heat in my house go out more than once. The dojo one year, the heat was just broke and I didn't know what to do. Again, you got to crack open a window or crack open a door a little bit. Just you make sure your carbon monoxide detectors are running smooth and all and good to go. But man, I use this in my garage, in my workshop. I've used it in the house. They're just great. When we're shoveling snow and my kids like come in, their hands are cold. It's almost like instant campfire. So I just take it. It's got you step on the bottom to light it. The kerosene, it burns clean, doesn't smell bad, gets really hot. The kids sit around and warm up by it. It's just a total rock star of a device. Again, I know there's other types of kerosene heaters, but this is the one that I grew up with, the one that I just really love, and I can't shout it from the rooftops loud enough. But as far as I'm concerned, again, when I can find kerosene, it always comes in. I know you can get it, some gas stations sell it, but I always get it in these jugs because they're good to go. They're sealed until you rip off the the seal that's on top when you take the cap off. I have quite a bit of it, but again, every time I see it, especially if I catch it on sale, I grab a couple bottles of it and add it to my stocks, because again, if the heat went out for days on end, you could limit yourself to 1 or 2 rooms using just this device. I think it's supposed to heat up to about 250 square feet or so, or something like that. Maybe it's 400. Don't quote me on that. But Home Depot, Lowe's, all your local stores, hardware stores and big box stores sell these. You can find them online. And kerosene is fuel source number 3. But in my book, in a lot of ways, I think it's number 1. All right, and the next one is I kind of put these both together. So this is butane, like you put in a butane lighter. This is a single burner stove which runs on butane. So you get these cans, and this is kind of a backup to my camp stove, that if the power went out and we were using the camp stove with the propane in the kitchen and it went down, or we were cooking a big meal, or we had more people over and we needed to add to it because I only have one of those camp stoves. I picked this up years ago when I used to do a lot of acting and stunts. In the mornings, they would kind of feed all the cast and crew and stuff like that. And I watched these guys cook on these things all morning, all afternoon. It was really impressive stuff. So years ago, I picked it up. And again, every time I see one of these butane, either by the case, by the can, a lot of times you find these in your local dollar store too. It's fuel, man. So it's just, when I find it cheap, I pick it up and I add it to my preps. Now this other one is Isopro all-season fuel blend. Now this is like It's part propane and part butane. And I use it as part of my, in my survival kit, in my camping bag. This little tank of gas fits into my Stanley, I don't know, I use this for boiling water. I pour this into my camping food, zip the top, 5 minutes and you eat it. This is the MSR pocket rocket. Should have a whole nother thing just on this. Could you heat yourself with it? Yeah, I'd rather heat up something on top of it and you know, either feed myself, make my coffee, or whatever. Hang on. Now check this out though. This thing, again, we'll do a review on just this, but the MSR pocket rocket, look at this thing go. Folds down into nothing. Come on. Come on. Folds down. Whoop, that's still a little hot. And goes into this like so. Boom. So this goes in here, then this goes in here, and then I put it all into one of my 511 container pouch things. But again, these two types of fuel, super duper cheap in the dollar store. These are a little bit more expensive because you're going to find them in a camping, hiking, backpacking, REI type of store. They come in bigger cans. I know, what's the other company that makes them? They make the same stuff. It's just another brand. But the butane and the isobutane or isopro, whatever that stuff is called, is fuel number 4. Super handy, super, especially for your camping and your survival preps and your go bag. Great, simple, takes up no space, fits in here in a pouch, in your bag or on your bag. And it's I'm a firm believer in it, do not leave home without it. So butane and isopro or propane butane mix, number 4. And number 5, wood. So you could use this in your fire pit, in your fireplace. If you had to make a fire pit outside, when you go camping, hiking, backpacking, hunting, and you're going to make a fire and you're just looking around, man, that's why God gave this to us. He put it there for a reason, for us to use it. You know, if you're like, I don't have a grill or something, you get a fire going, you take 2 other pieces of wood, and then you put whatever you're going to cook across the top. It's the most primal, most basic, easy to break it down with a knife and a baton to split it into smaller pieces to watch our fire building videos. But you could get your local tree removal place to bring you a bunch of wood. You could buy seasoned wood, it's already cut down, it's already split to look like this, and then it's sat around for a year or so, and then they'll sell it to you just like that. Or they say he who chops his own wood warms up twice. So I know around here, the tree removal guys, they'll charge you to take down the tree, and part of what they're charging you is that they have to pay to dump it. So if you see some guys cutting down a tree, they'd be very happy to just drop it in your driveway because they're going to save a bunch of money because they don't have to pay at the dump, right? So what you could do is get yourself learn how to use a chainsaw safely, or get a few of your neighbors together. That's what we do. We get together, we cut the wood into rings like this stump, and then either we split it with an axe, or I'll rent a log splitter if I have a whole lot of it, not a whole lot of time, because I never have a whole lot of time. For me, I get a lot of, there's a lot of zen in cutting the wood, splitting the wood, stacking the wood, and you know, you could heat your house with it. If you don't have a fireplace, maybe a wood burning stove is a great idea. Again, if you needed to purify or disinfect water, you can make a fire in your driveway and then use that with pots and pans to take water that from snow, from the local lake or river or whatever, from your sink, even if it's potable water, boil it. If there's some funky stuff in there, you boil it, kill whatever bad stuff there is, and then and drink it, and use it that way. But again, God put it here for a reason. So it's last but most certainly not least, wood. Obviously, if you're going to be making those of you that do fire pits and fireplace, when you're burning wood and it turns into that black coal, you're pretty much making charcoal, right? So another thing to stock up on, I like to smoke smoked meat like pork butts and briskets and stuff like that. So I always have a good supply of charcoal on hand for when I want to, you know, bust out the smoker and make a, you know, dinner like it's going to take me 14 hours to make or something like that. But you could also use this in lieu of wood. So if like, you know, maybe like you don't have access to all this stuff, whatever, which I don't know where you would be that you wouldn't have that, but it's a good substitute. Not the same thing. Hey, go for a hike in your local woods and come back with as much wood as you can carry. Get a wagon or a bucket or a basket and just start collecting it, man. Start stacking it and stocking it. And when the cold times come, you're not going to care what you're burning. You just want to stay warm. So again, regardless of whatever you're prepping for, these are some very, very basic things, and you don't need to go crazy and spend a ton of money and, you know, just like, you know, go into debt over stocking up on this. But if you have a kerosene heater, next time you're at your like Home Depot or whatever store and you see a bottle of kerosene, pick up a bottle of kerosene. If you know, you have like a camping stove and a camping lantern, next time you see some of the propane, pick it up. If you have a gas grill at your house and you use a propane tank, do you have a second one? And if you have a second one, why not pick up a third one or a fourth one just to have them? You could get the empty gasoline containers and you don't even have to fill them up. But hey, I remember when the storms hit and people are scrambling just looking for the containers, you know, the jugs. And people always tease me, like, why do you have so many empty jugs? Like, you got all these gasoline jugs. What are you preparing for? I'm like, remember the last time? Well, I remember the last time, and I'm taking the steps so that the next time that happens, I learn from history so that, for me, it won't repeat itself. That's my 2 cents, man. But anyway, if I'm missing something in my game, as always, you guys are the absolute best with this stuff. The channel, I learn way more from you guys and your comments and so many knowledgeable subscribers and viewers, and especially the ones that chime in all the time. I love when I could teach and help pass on, you know, some good stuff to other people to help them be more safe and more prepared for them and their families. But when I read through the comments, and there have been so many lately, it's hard to keep up with them, but that's a good sign that the channel's growing and there's more people kind of like helping one another. But I learn a lot from you guys too. So if there's something that I'm missing or a better way to do it or other things that I could or should add or what you're doing, I love reading it because I learn at least as much from you guys as I hope I'm teaching you guys. So if you made it this far and you like what I'm teaching or preaching, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and like this video. If you're loving it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you gotta have it, make sure you hit the bell notification button and the little thing where it says all notifications so YouTube will let you know when the next video drops. If you're really digging it and you want more, you can find me on all social media platforms at 5 Elements Tactical. That's all I got for now, warriors. So until our paths cross again, pray for the best, prepare for the rest. I'm Kiyoshi Dave Herman with 5 Elements Tactical Training. Thanks for watching.